Good morning, Warriors! Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well. I didn't get a chance to do one yesterday. Wrapped up in trying to get final grades in for our great students and around the nation here, and trying to kind of get all that done. So I'll try to do one today, and then we'll try to do one tomorrow as well. So I promised yesterday I'd do one introduction to semen retention, so let's go ahead and do that now. First of all, thank you for all the great comments. I'm going to give a couple quick shout outs out here to Alfex DHT and BPH. So thank you. Amy Parker, thank you. I'm actually going to comment, I think, on yours pretty soon coming up. HVD fourth, 157 days, at least when you wrote. Great job. Keep it up. Nick L, thank you. Called Higher and 2002. I appreciate your comments. Alchemist Star, Indigo Sage, thank you so much for your comments. Appreciate those, my friend. Cool Slim, JJ Recon, and Matt R. Thank you guys as usual. I take a lot of you guys' comments. I'll do some more shout outs every time we do this. I have so many that I have to kind of keep going back and writing them down and doing them. So I got a bunch of great comments the last couple days as well, and some great questions that we're talking about. Let's go back a little bit for those who don't really wasn't with us back in the beginning of this, back in August of I think it was last August, not this past August, but the following August. We've been doing this for a while now, and the reason why that we're doing this, and I guess I go back a little bit, my history a little bit, and I'll kind of briefly go back over it a little bit. So, I struggled, even though I had moderate success in things, in sports, and things like that, relationships and in work and things like that. I just was not reaching my full potential, and I knew it down deep. And the biggest problem was I was wasting a lot of time and my energy. And so as time went on, I had a lot of football injuries. And so in probably around the middle 30s, I was going to a doctor, and I was not going to do too well in the next, 20, 30 years of my life. And he says, you have a lot of issues, with your, potential arthritis and all kinds of stuff because of football injuries and things like that over the years. And so I wasn't too happy, but I knew one thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to live a long life. Longevity was very important to me, and also good health, and trying to stay vigorous. I don't know if I used that word back then, but it actually came from, I learned from when John F. Kennedy was president, and he used the word vigor a lot, and I kind of just kept that in my mind as I was growing up all those years ago. And so then in the mid-90s, late 90s, we had moved to a new area and went to a Goodwill, and I found this book called The Fountain of Youth. That probably was 1998, so if I'm 61 now, you can probably go back and do the math a little bit. It's probably late 30s, something like that, and somewhere around there, maybe 40. Let's see, 40 would be like 61. So if you go back, this is 2022. You go back, 39, 38 years, something like that, somewhere around that category. So when you look at this, I was really kind of at the ends of my rope, not knowing really what to do. So what happened was I got this book I found by Peter Kendler. And I mentioned it many times, and I've showed the book several times as well. I don't have a copy of it in the car here, but that book really intrigued me. I wasn't sure if it was true or not, but it listed that because of the exercises these monks in Tibet did, I actually went ahead and said, okay, I can do these exercises. I could try these exercises, see what happens. Now, it also talked about 6 different things you had to do, 5 exercises, and the 6th was an exercise, but I really didn't think about it because it said you had to be celibate. And celibacy to me, at that point, when I was late 30s, I was still having children, and decided, I can't do this, so I ignored that one. So for many, many years, I ignored it, and so I was able to have a little success, little by little. I wasn't having great success with this, but I was staying healthier, and I didn't have as many issues, and I wasn't sick and going to work. I think over the last 20 years, I may have missed only 2 or 3 days of work total. And over the last 10, 11, I haven't missed it all. So back when I first started this, I probably missed a few, but I really haven't missed a lot, and I think it's a lot to do with the exercise. A lot of the exercises focus on the internal part of the body and the chakras, They're your energy forces. So I got into more of the energy discussion and talking more about that. And so then the whole idea was that late 50s, about 2-3 years ago now, is 930 days. I decided I'm just gonna go. I follow that six rule in the book, and I'm gonna basically do that. And so I said I'm gonna take the chance and talk to my loved ones around me, and we said we're gonna do that, and that's what I'm gonna do. And so we did this, and so I started practicing no fap, and then all of a sudden I started trying to go into monk mode, which I haven't, succeeded a lot on monk mode yet, but I'm still getting there. And the thing is that you have to really sacrifice, but in the long run, you're gonna be better off. And so I didn't really believe. I started doubting the doctors when they said, you need to release all the time, and it's gonna make you feel better, things like that. And then if you don't do that, you're gonna be sick and upset and those type of things. And so I decided, okay, well, I'm at the point where this is not working. I felt drained at times. I still felt sick. The exercises were not as working as well. And I thought the biggest issue might be, okay, you're just releasing. You're just doing too much. You're doing too much. And so I said, okay, I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to go ahead and just try to take it one day at a time and go monk mode as much as possible, because I had to go to the extreme just to get back in after all these years, 40 some years of doing this. And so to my great shock and surprise, this was unbelievable. It reminded me when I was 10, 12 years old, before I started any of this kind of stuff. And I don't remember that far back, to be honest with you, but I do remember a feeling I had. It was just tremendous. It was just tremendous. And so I realized right then and there that this is the way life should be. And this is what men should be. They should not be releasing all over the place. Obviously, for procreation purposes, things like that, that might be a different story. And I think the Bible talks about it being fruitful and multiply, things like that. But when we talk about this idea, you're talking then about trying to control your energy within yourself and then transmuting it. So what we mean by semen retention is that you're keeping this energy within you, all the nutrients. Semen has a lot of nutrients in it, and it's been shown that it does help you. Of course, because if you're going to release it and have a child, the woman can't have the child without your semen of some sort. Now, they can do test tubes, things like that, but they're going to need semen. And so you become a very valuable commodity. So wasting that stuff and just throwing it down the drain makes no sense at all if you look at the logical picture. Now, once again, we all have, and I still, at this point, I think someone asked me about this. Maybe it was one of the people, I can't remember this, but it might have been Money Masur, number 7. I still have a huge drive. There's no doubt. But I'm trying to transmute this now as time went on. Napoleon Hill said you between 40 and 60 you do that. I could not control it between 40 and 60. So I'm still now at the point where now I'm getting better with it, but it took me the whole monk mode just to kind of move into a better control of this nature. And that just is the honest truth. So I mean, I think certainly this has helped me a great deal. I still battle every day. The no fab is one thing, but the monk mode is a whole different thing, and we'll talk about more of that in another one. But the idea of semen retention is one of self-control. You're trying to learn self-control, and because of that, then I started doing other things that took some control. Taking a cold shower, like this morning, it's pretty cold here in the Midwest. Taking a cold shower was crazy this morning. It was cold. It was very cold, And the thing is that when you're looking at this, it is a cold type of thing, but it's a good thing. The red blood cells move to your heart area, chest area, and all of a sudden you can notice a difference after you get out of a cold shower. But you can take it. You can take it. After a while, you can take it. So you get used to it after a while. So the thing is, guys, is as you look at this semen retention thing, you're actually focusing on self-control. Then you look in the diet. It's another thing that goes along with it as well. And you also look at, I do some weight training, even at 61. I do walking. I do exercising. There's certain types of foods, water, a lot of water, those type of things you keep going with. So all this stuff adds to it, but it starts with something I had to start with, semen retention. And so I hope that gives you a little bit better picture of what we're talking about here. It's really a matter of self-control. It's a matter of saying no, that you have pictures in front of you, you just decide not to do it. Now, other times it's going to happen, of course. Of course, we're not perfect. We're not perfect human beings. Only Jesus Christ and our Lord are that way. So when you look at a picture, is going to happen. The birds are going to fly over. You're going to notice them. Heck, even my age, I notice everybody. You notice beautiful women walking around. There's no doubt about that. But you got to control it. You got to control what you do next. And what you should be doing is using that energy that you all of a sudden got excited with and move it into something else. Move it into a goal. Move it into something else and not think about it. So, and the reason we focus a lot on the channel recently about women's attraction is because this is a topic, a number one topic for many of you guys. Because it is a matter of controlling yourself first. Now, of course, there's a lot of business success for some of you guys who've been doing it for a while and habit and things. That you're past the point where it's not a huge problem. But for a lot of younger people, and I know this, it is a challenge. Because you're hit by a lot of stimuluses in different ways. And you're sitting there not knowing how to react, and the world tells you one thing, and then God is telling you something else. And it's very difficult to sometimes break away from that temptation, especially if you have live people in front of you and they're wanting to have intercourse and those type of things, and you're in situations where that happens. And so you have to prevent that type of situations as best as possible and kind of move away from that as best you can. We have lots of things, a lot of questions related to this. I'm going to kind of talk about a little bit too. I know Josh Holmes, a shout out to you, my friend. You wanted a little talk about this because you're right. A lot of people joined this channel recently, and once again, I'm very blessed about that. Thank you so much. I think we're almost at 1350 or something like this. Just unbelievable to me. But it's great that we're getting the word out. And I think my son gave me I think it was Dex also gave me a suggestion. My son gave me a suggestion of tagging things, and I don't know technology all that well, so I'm just trying to kind of get the message out. But this has all been helping. Putting titles, I think Dex mentioned put the title in the introduction, and that helps as well, so people can find it more. But it's amazing to me, a lot more men with the MGTOW movement and things are coming to this idea of self-control. And you got to have self-control, because the whole thing is that women are there. They want attention because they want to mate. Now, they may not say that, maybe more subconscious and conscious, but all it is really women trying to find the right person. And this is just human nature. And people can yell at me and all kinds of stuff with this kind of stuff. I don't really care. The idea is that you're basically, procreation is part of nature. And so women who are not physically strong can't just take men down. They got to use other methods. And so they look, very beautiful. They look pretty, tempting, all types of things like that, going back to Adam and Eve, right? Going back to lots of things that deal with women, whether it's Joseph and the king's wife and things like that, all of a sudden, or Cleopatra, all these types of examples you can see in the past about how women's attractiveness is what draws people. Men are very visual. And so the biggest issue with men is that we're trying to get away from the visual. I remember some kind of, an interview, something with Howard Hughes, or maybe it was whoever, not Howard Hughes, but I can't remember the guy's passed away, but did Playboy. It's right on top of my phone. He was talking about the fact, don't come to me as I'm talking probably, he was talking about the fact that he developed his magazine primarily not to show everything on people, but basically to show parts of things to get people interested. It's almost like the mysterious thing that you're looking for. And so your mind uses imagination to fill in the blanks, because you don't see everything. And once you see everything, it's not as appealing. This is why places that have people running around with no clothes on all the time, they're maybe fun for a few days, but after a while, people get used to people running around with no clothes on. So the thing is they're not as attractive. But it's the anticipation, all that stuff that gets you really excited. And that's what happens with retention as well. But things that I want to talk about more, some questions here. Money more sort of talks about semen retention and exercise. You need to have exercise along with this. You cannot sit around, even though you're retaining, you can't sit around and just watch video games, television, and not do anything. You're going to get frustrated as heck. There's no doubt about it. You got to do something. You got to move around. You got to transmute. And I like taking breathing exercises, putting one nose, breathe in, take it to the other one, bring out, and keep doing that. That helps me a lot, transferring whatever energy I have down in that chakra area up to another, and that's good too. So women's benefits, certainly we talk about that in some ways all the time, but the idea, guys, is that women can use semen retention too, and there's parts of the month that they do that. Now the problem they have is because of the time of the month, they end up then losing some of that energy, and that's why, and they have a lot more estrogen as well, because they're having, this is how females are made. And so when you really talk about this idea, we're talking about that females do have benefits, of course. I mean, the same kind of things when it comes to focus and control and attraction are all there because they're keeping their nutrients as well. So women have a lot of benefits when it comes to retention as well. We focus on men because most of the population in my viewership is men, so we focus on it. But certainly, I'm happy to address any kind of female questions that I know. Not being a female, I'd have to ask my wife or my children, my daughters, to try to ask what they think. So, massive mirror optical man, thank you, optical man, for that comment. I think he's right on this one. A lot of times we get people who get upset with us because they're looking at themselves in the mirror, realizing that we're doing something they're not, and they're not happy about that, and they really they really kind of struggle with this whole idea. And so basically what they're doing is kind of showing their insecurities to us through projection, and I think that's probably deserves an extra one by itself. But optical man, thank you for your comment on being a massive mirror. You are a massive mirror, and sometimes people like you because of it, some people don't, and you have to kind of learn how to deal with that. I would not pay too much attention to it. Try to avoid those situations where people come up to you and they're jealous or upset because you're on retention. I would forget about that. I would just keep going. And retention, obviously, optical man also says not just retention. Of course, there's a lot of things that are added to it, in my opinion. I think retention starts it starts you on the path of control, and you have to do that with your anger management if you have some, controlling, addictions, all kinds of stuff. But if you can do this when it comes to retention, that's one of the hardest ones. Then I think you move yourself into a good category and you build confidence as you go along. Aspie talks about, thank you, Aspie, for your comment, brings out your true nature. I'll kind of end with this one a little bit. I think that guys, as warriors back in the old days, you could see movies on this. You could, I remember running into people like this. They were just man on top of man, and you could just tell that reality because they had such an aura around them. I think one of the things I'll talk about, one of the comments that I think Scott Allen mentioned is aura is almost like authority, and I like that, and we'll talk about that one probably in another video. But the idea, guys, is that men need to be men. We need to stand up and be men, no matter what the society's telling you, no matter what all these movements are telling you, these people telling you that you're this, you're that. Men need to be men because men need to protect and provide, and that's one of the key things that men always have done and always will do. Now we're not as perceptive when it comes to a lot of this other kind of stuff because we're just paying so much attention to those two things. But the thing is that you're there for a reason. There's purposes. Men and women have different purposes, and this is the way society is, and it will always be, no matter what people want to do to kind of change it or put their own version of things together. That's not, no matter what progressive world people think they're in, there's actually no progressive world. The stories were like this way back in Roman days too. The same things happen. There's not many stories about human nature that are different, and they're just all the same. They just reoccur. The technology may change, people may change around us, but the idea is that people don't really change who they are. God's made them a certain way, and that's what they are. But the idea then is that you really want to focus on being the strong warrior, and you got to start somewhere by showing that you can sacrifice things and control yourself. and that's where retention comes in. So, all right, guys, so I hope this helps you a little bit as a kind of introduction. Once again, I hope you guys have a good weekend. I'll try to do another one tomorrow. Thank you for all the shout outs, and thank you for the questions about this topic. Once again, James had one too, and I want to kind of focus on that before I forget. Do you lose longevity? So longevity, he's asking about, do you lose days or months every time that you release? It's a very good question, James. I don't have scientific proof of this because I don't think there's enough studies have been done on this stuff yet. But I do believe, if my instincts will tell me, that anytime you're losing energy, you're becoming weaker and you have to recreate that energy. So in my mind, when it's happening, is that you become weaker. Now, does that mean your genetics changes? I don't know about that part. All I do know is that if you become weaker, and I was a lot more sicker in those days. I was sick a lot, in fact, with those type of things, because I was releasing all the time. Your body is worn down. You don't have the nutrients to fight things, depression, anxiety, stress, those type of things, and all of a sudden you get sicker. And yet, in fact, it probably could lose. You could lose time. You could lose days. You could lose months. Those things happen. But the thing is, you want to keep doing it. Now, can you move forward and get younger? Well, I think you can. I don't know if it's called younger. The chakras keep moving. So you can lose some of the energy, yes, and that will hurt you. But you can regain your energy by doing these exercises, in my opinion, and also going ahead and practicing retention, the 6th rule. By those type of things will make you a lot stronger. And I think you'll gain years. What I mean by gaining years is that you're not really gaining years, but you're keeping yourself going. And so you may look like I started these in the late 30s, almost 40. And so a lot of people tell me I don't look that much more older than 40 some years old, and that kind of thing. Now, I don't know if that's really true or not. A lot of you guys made nice comments, and I appreciate that. But the thing is that if that's true, then all of a sudden those years are aging slower than they would normally, because your chakras, and you keep those chakras going. I think you can live over 100 with no trouble at all. And I see a lot of people who've done that. And that's the whole key to the Fountain of Youth, because you're trying to do those type of things to build those chakras going. And so that's my perspective on it. We'll talk more about it at another point, but I wanted to get this one out a little bit longer. But I felt like we didn't do one yesterday, so I wanted to do one today. All right, my friends, God bless you guys, each one of you, and have a great day today. Hope you guys have a nice weekend. We'll try to do one tomorrow. But until then, God bless you guys. And remember, every day is a new day to a wise warrior. And you have to battle on. God bless you guys.